Welcome back to Salford Arts Versus In the Company with me, Libby Hall.
And me, Ronnie Ellis.
Our guest this evening on the official Shelagh Delaney Day is Charlotte Delaney, Sheila's daughter.
Tell us a little bit about your writing and anything that you're writing at the moment.
I'm Charlotte Delaney, Sheila's girl. At the moment, I'm doing an MA in creative writing, and I'm working on a documentary with House in the Road Productions, which is Jodie's production company, because I'd like to do something called From Delaney to Dunbar and Beyond, because I'm interested in, you know, are working class women only allowed to tell one type of story? Like, you know, do they all have the same voice? And obviously we know they haven't because we're not idiots. But in popular culture, you could be forgiven for thinking that there's a type of format that they fit in anyway. So that's a documentary that we're really excited about making happen. I wrote a short film and I'm doing that with the director, but I won't say his name because I don't want to jinx it. And it's not because he's like Steven Spielberg or anything, but just because it's so rare that anything actually happens. And I'm finishing a novel. So I'm busy, I'm really busy, but I deliberately made myself busy because I didn't want to have nothing to do, you know, like during winter and stuff like that.
And so the kind of writing that you do, you know, dare I compare you to your mum, but, you know, what's your writing? You know, where does it differ, or where is it similar? Is it, obviously you're working class yourself and you've got that.
Well, I'm not. That's the thing. The thing is, though, this is interesting because, you know, the reality is I was brought up in a 4-bedroom house in Islington. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And my mum was Sheila Delaney, and there was privilege attached to that. There's no getting away from it. The greatest privilege is that my mum was an egalitarian and believed everybody was equal and treated them that way. So, you know, that's the real privilege. But this is one of the questions on the MA about who you're influenced by, who I'm influenced by. And it's really been difficult to answer. And then I thought about the fact that there came a point when I started working for my mum when I was about 17. And she got sick of me hanging about, doing nothing. She sent me off to learn to type. And so I started typing out her scripts and, you know, and doing the different drafts and talking about edits. And looking back, I think I was definitely influenced in terms of how you get the rhythm and the lyricism of natural speech into, you know, your kind of writerly speech.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think I learned a lot from that. But I think I also have very different voices to my mum. I mean, you know, my novel's set in America, you know, for one thing. So I have a kind of an American voice in my head. I spent a lot of time there. My dad was a Yank. So I have that voice in my head and I have that northern voice in my head, but I have posh voices in my head. And my mum could do that as well. You know, not everything she wrote was a taste of honey. That was just the beginning of her career. I like the American writers. I like Tennessee Williams. I like Eugene O'Neill. I like Gerald Wharton, you know, the nutty kind of misfit that I relate to, and I think most of us relate to something in them, you know, but they're a bit extreme, a bit outrageous, maybe.
I think that's more interesting, though, isn't it? Relatable characters. I think that excites most people, most audiences, I think.
Yeah, and I think that if you're not used to seeing yourself represented in popular culture, it's quite a big deal when that happens, you know. So, like, I've had a very particular sort of life. I feel like I've had lots of sorts of lives. And so, you know, if you meet enough different people, eventually you end up with enough material, just even subconsciously, you know, to bring to any particular story that you might write. And it's all influential. It's all influential. I saw Libby's tip for the day for writers, you know, read everything. And I would just totally agree with it. Like, it's never a waste of time to listen to people and read what they've written, you know, even if it's in comics, in adverts, in headlines of newspapers, you know, it's styles and words going round in your head. It's magical when it works. Libby will tell you. When it doesn't, it's a pain in the arse, like, stupid job.
It's definitely a love-hate relationship.
Yeah, it's more of a compulsion. It's not like you kind of go, oh, I think I'll try and be taken seriously for the rest of my life through my writing. Like that's the kiss of death, isn't it, really?
Yeah, definitely.
You can't imagine doing anything else.
Do you remember the moment you wanted to be a writer? That was it. I wanted to write, or was
Yeah,
it
I
a
do.
natural? Was it a natural?
Yeah, no, I really remember it. I was thinking about it because you very kindly sent me the questions before. I've always written, but I've never, up until this particular point, I've never kind of gone, I'm going to give this my very best shot. That's what I'm doing. And when my mum first got sick, and she was in London with me and the kids, and it was one of those times, so I just had an operation on my right arm. The kids were really little. My mum was in hospital. I was driving round trying to hide the plaster cast on my arm through London, delivering smoothies to my mum, and it was all a bit mental. And she sort of grabbed me and she said, now's the time. And I think the reason she felt like that was because when her dad was dying, that was when she really gave Honey her best shot. She stayed in every night, because she wanted it to happen before he died. No, she didn't know she was going to be the kind of course celebrity that she was, but she wanted to finish it. She wanted to complete it. And I think, it was one of those moments. So she bought me a laptop, and that was in 2004. So although I'd done creative writing courses before, and I'd written loads of different things before, but I'd never bothered going back and editing them, and I'd never kind of get them polished enough to show to anyone. Kept getting knocked up, having babies, going to parties, travelling, But also it's scary, being Charlotte Delaney's daughter and feeling compelled to be a writer can be a bit of a pain in the arse sometimes as well. It's not...
Well, sometimes I suppose there's that pressure, and I think probably with your mum, when she started to write and the time she started to write, the things she wrote about, in a way, sometimes it's probably the pressure is probably a lot more than somebody who just decided they wanted to be a writer and nobody else in their family was a writer, in a way, because you've got all that behind you, haven't you? You've got everything from your mum, and it's almost
there's
like
expectations. Yeah, I think now that I'm sort of crazy old, I'm a bit more able to sort of go, well, that's going to happen. If if stuff gets made and people know who I am, there's always going to be people who are going to have something to say about that. And I don't mind really at this stage in the game, but I think it was more of a problem for my mum than it's sort of ever been for me, in that, everything was compared to Honey from my mum. So many people who talk about her don't know anything but Honey. They don't know anything other than that. And like I say, it's the first thing she wrote. She got better, like everyone does, when they do something for a while. So I think that it's not a problem now, but I think it was when I was younger. I think it was always a problem when I was younger in terms of me committing to being a writer. Yeah.
What's your favourite format of writing? Do you prefer writing plays, novels? Obviously, you've mentioned there that you've written a few different kinds. But what's your favourite one to do?
I think it's funny because I don't really ever go to the theatre that much. I like plays because I think you can be more wordy.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You can give people, a lot more words to say, and I like that.
Yeah.
Especially if you're into a character, you can think of so many things they want to say, can't you? And you don't want to shut them up almost. But I recently wrote a pilot for a would-be drama series, and that was a really interesting. That was a really interesting process because you kind of can't always see the end of it. It goes way off into the future, and any ideas you have about what might happen or could happen, you can kind of park them because if the series happens, you've got all this material anyway. So I think it's interesting to play with them all. I just want to be brilliant at all of them. I just want to be the best at everything.
Brilliant. Right, okay, then shall we start to talk about the first scene from A Taste of Honey?
the two have just arrived at their new flat, and basically we start to see, I suppose, the beginnings of this mother and daughter relationship, which I feel is familiar to all of us,
Yeah.
in all honesty. Isn't
Yeah.
it, Libby?
Yeah, right from the get-go, I think it sets up that relationship straight away, just from the first few lines of dialogue, doesn't it?
Yeah, that conflict that mothers and daughters have kind of feels a bit like siblings as well, a little bit, like that kind of
Bickering, yeah.
and that one-upmanship all the time. So, yeah, so that's what we're going to do now. We're going to have a quick listen to the opening scene.
Well, this is the place.
And I don't like it.
When I find somewhere for us to live, I have to consider something far more important than your feelings. The rent. It's all I could afford.
You can afford something better than this old ruin.
When you start earning, you can start moaning.
Can't be soon enough for me. I'm cold and my shoes like water. What a place. And we're supposed to be living off her immoral earnings.
I'm careful. Anyway, what's wrong with this place? Everything in it's falling apart, it's true, and we've no heating. But there's a lovely view of the gasworks, and we share a bathroom with the community. And this wallpaper's contemporary. What more do you want? Anyway, it'll do for us. Pass me a glass, Joe.
Where are they?
I don't know.
You packed 'em. She'd lose her head if it was loose.
Here they are. I put them in my bag for safety. Pass me that bottle. It's in the carrier.
Why should I run round after you?
Children owe their parents these little attentions.
I don't owe you a thing.
Except respect, and I don't seem to get any of that.
Drink, drink, drink. That's all you're fit for. You make me sick.
Others may pray for their daily bread.
Is that the bedroom?
It is. Your health, Joe.
Sharing a bed again, I see.
Of course. You know I can't bear to be parted from you.
What I wouldn't give for a room of my own. God, it's freezing. Isn't there any sort of fire anywhere, Helen?
Yes. There's a gas-propelled thing somewhere.
Where?
Where? What were you giving eyes for? Do you want me to carry you about? Oh, don't stand there shivering. Have some of this if you're so cold.
You know I don't like it.
Have you tried it?
No.
Then get it down you. Where, she says. She can never see anything till she falls over it. Now, where's it got to? I know I saw it here somewhere. One of those shilling in the slot affairs. The landlady pointed it out to me as part of the furniture and fittings. Oh, I don't know. Oh, it'll turn up. What's up with you now?
Don't like the smell of it.
You don't smell it, you drink it. It consoles you.
What do you need consoling about?
Life. Come on. Give it to me if you've done with it. I'll soon put it in a safe place.
You're knocking it back worse than ever.
Oh, well. It's one way of passing time while I'm waiting for something to turn up. And it usually does, if I drink hard enough. Oh, my God. I've caught a shocking cold from somebody. Have you got a clean hanky, Joe? Mine's drinking wet with dabbing at my nose all day.
Have this. It's nearly clean. Oh, isn't that light awful? I do hate to see an unshaded electric light bulb dangling from the ceiling like that.
Oh, well, don't look at it then.
Can I have that chair, Helen? I'll put my scarf round it.
She'd get on your nerves. Just when I was going to take the weight off my feet for 5 minutes. Oh, my poor old nose.
Christ, it's hot.
Oh, well, can't you leave things alone? Oh, she gets me down. I'll buy a proper shade tomorrow. It's running like a tap. This is the 3rd hanky today.
Tomorrow? What makes you think we're going to live that long? The roof's leaking.
Is it? No, it's not. It's just condensation.
Was it raining when you took the place?
Oh, it's a bit of a mess, isn't it?
You always have to rush off into things. You never think.
Oh, well, we can always find something else.
But what are you looking for? Every place we find is the same.
Oh, every time I turn my head, my eyeballs hurt. Can't we have a bit of peace for 5 minutes?
I'll make some coffee.
Oh, do what you like. I feel rotten. I've no business being out of bed.
Where's the kitchen?
Where's the... Through there. I have to be really bad before I go to bed, though. Oh, it's the only redeeming feature in the entire lodging house. Oh, I've got it in my throat now, too. I hope you're going to make full use of it.
There's a gas stove in here.
Oh, it hurts when I swallow. Of course there is.
It looks a bit ancient. How do I light
How do it? With a match! Wouldn't she drive you mad?
I know that, but which knob do I turn?
Oh, turn 'em all. You're bound to find the right one in the end. She can't do a thing for herself, that girl. Mind you don't gas yourself. Every time I comb my hair, it goes right through me. I think it's more than a cold, you know. More likely it's flu. Did you find it?
Yes.
The way she bangs about, I tell you, my head's coming off.
Won't be long now. Who lives here besides us, Ellen? Any young people?
Eh? Oh, yeah. I did see a lad hanging around here when I called last week. Handsome, long-legged creature. Just the way I like him. Perhaps he's one of the fixtures. He'd just do for you, Joe. You've never had a boyfriend, have you?
No. I used to like one of your fancy men, though.
No, which one?
I thought I was in love with him.
Which one does she mean?
I thought he was the only man I'd ever love in my life, and then he ran off with that landlady's daughter.
Oh, him.
And I cried myself to sleep for weeks.
She was a silly cat if ever there was one. You should have seen her. Honest to God, she was a sight for sore eyes. I'll have to tell you about her sometime.
I saw him again one day on the street.
Did you?
I couldn't believe my eyes. He was thin, weak-chinned with a funny turned-up nose.
It wasn't his nose I was interested in.
Oh, can you smell that river?
I can't smell a thing. I've got such a cold.
What's that big place over there?
The slaughterhouse, where all the cows, sheep and pigs go in and all the beef, pork and mutton comes out.
I wonder what it'll be like here in the summer. I bet it'll smell.
This whole city smells. Eesh, there's a terrible draught in here. Where's it coming from? Look at that. What a damn silly place to put a window. This place is cold enough, isn't it? Without giving shelter to the four winds.
Helen, stop sniffing. Sounds awful.
I can't help it. You'd sniff if you had a cold like this. She's not got a bit of consideration in her. It's self all the time.
I'm going to unpack my bulbs. I wonder where I can put them.
I could tell you.
They're supposed to be left in a cool, dark place.
That's where we all end up sooner or later. Still, it's no use worrying, is it?
I hope they bloom. Always before when I've tried to fix up a window box, nothing's ever grown in it.
Why do you bother?
It's nice to see a few flowers, isn't it?
Where did you get those bulbs?
The park. The gardener had just planted about 200. I didn't think he'd miss half a dozen.
That's the way to do things. If you see something you want, take it. That's my daughter for you. If you spent half as much time on me as you do on them fiddling bits of greenery, I'd be a damn sight better off. Go and see if that kettle's boiling.
See yourself. I've got to find somewhere for my bulbs.
See yourself? Do everything yourself? That's what happens. You bring them up and they turn round and talk to you like that. I would never have dared talk to my mother like that when I was her age. She'd have knocked me into the middle of next week. Oh, my head. Whenever I walk, you know how it is. What a journey. I never realised this city was so big. Have you got any aspirins left, Joe?
No. I dreamt about you last night, Ellen.
You're going to have a shocking journey to school each day, aren't you? It must be miles and miles.
Not for much longer.
Why? Are you still set on leaving school at Christmas?
Yes.
What are you going to do?
Get out of your sight as soon as I can get a bit of money in my pocket.
Very wise too. But how are you going to get your money in the first place? After all, you're not very fond of work, are you?
No, I take after you.
That's nice, isn't it? Puts me in mind of my first job. In a tatty little pub down Whit Lane. I thought it was wonderful. You know, playing the piano and all that. A real get-together at weekends. Everybody standing up and giving song. I used to bring the house down with this one. I'd give the songbirds to the wide wood. I'd give the sunset to the blind. And to the old folks I give the memory of the baby upon their knee.
What would you say if I did something like that?
I should have taken up singing. Everybody used to tell me. What did you say?
I said, what would you say if I got a job in a pub?
You can't sing, can you? Anyway, it's your life, ruin it your own way. It's a waste of time interfering with other people. Don't you think so? Takes me all my time to look after myself, I know that.
That's what you said, but really you think you could make a better job of it, don't you?
What?
Ruining my life. After all, you've had plenty of practice.
Yeah, give me praise where praise is due, I always say. I certainly supervise my own downfall. Oh, this chair's a bit low, isn't it? Could do with a cushion.
Anyway, I'm not getting married like you did.
Oh.
I'm too young and beautiful for that.
Oh, listen to it. Still, we all have funny ideas at that age, don't we? Makes no difference, though. We all end up the same way sooner or later. Anyway, tell me about this dream you had.
What dream?
You said you had a dream about me.
Oh, that. It was nothing much. I was standing in a garden and there were some policemen digging, and guess what they found planted under a rose bush?
You.
No, you.
Why? Had we run short of cemetery space? Well, I've always said we should be used for manure when we're gone. Go and see to that coffee. I'm dying for a hot drink. This bloody cold, it's all over me. I'm sure it's flu. I suppose I'd better clear some of this stuff away. She wouldn't think. Well, they don't at that age, do they? Oh. It gets me right here when I try to do anything. When I bend, you know. Have you had it? I'm thinking of washing my hair tonight, but I don't think it's wise to. Oh, Christ. What the hell she got in here? Sooner her than me. Oh, what's this? Hey! Joe! Joe! What's this?
What's what?
Did you do this?
Put it down.
I thought you said you weren't good at anything.
It's only a drawing.
Oh, it's very good. Did you show them at school?
I'm never at one school long enough to show them anything.
Well, that's my fault, I suppose.
You will wander about the country.
Oh, it's a gypsy in me. Didn't realise I had such a talented daughter. Look at that. It's good, isn't it?
I'm not just talented, I'm genius.
I think I'll hang this on the wall somewhere. Now, where will it be least noticeable? Don't snatch! Have you no manners? What's these?
Self-portraits, give 'em here.
Self-portraits? Oh, well, I suppose you've got to draw pictures of yourself, nobody else would. Hey, is that supposed to be me?
Yes.
Oh, don't I look a misery? They're very artistic though, I must say. Have you thought of going to a proper art school and getting a proper training?
It's too late.
I'll pay. You're not stupid. You'll soon learn.
I've had enough of school. Too many different schools and too many different places.
You're wasting yourself.
So long as I don't waste anybody else. Why are you so suddenly interested in me anyway? You've never cared much before about what I was doing or what I was trying to do or the difference between them.
I know, I'm a cruel, wicked woman.
Why did we have to come here anyway? We were all right at the other place.
Oh, I was fed up with the other place.
You mean you're running away from somebody?
You're asking for a bloody good hiding, lady. Just be careful. Oh, she'd drive you out of your mind. And my head's splitting in two.
What about me? Don't you think I get fed up with all this flitting about? Where's the bathroom? I'm going to have a bath.
You're always bathing.
I'm not like you. I don't wait until it becomes necessary before I have a good wash.
You'll find the communal latrine and wash house at the end of the passage. And don't throw your things about. This place is untidy enough as it is.
That's all we do. Live out of a travelling bag.
Well, don't worry. You'll soon be an independent working woman and free to go where you please.
The sooner the better. I'm sick of you. You've made my life a misery. And stop sneezing your flu bugs all over me. I don't want to catch your cold.
Oh, get out of my sight. Go and have your bath.
You can get your own coffee too. Why should I do anything for you? You never do anything for me.
So we're just going to have a little bit of a chat about, that opening scene, I suppose, and their kind of relationship and the thoughts of what we think about that, I suppose. Not to make any presumptions of meanings behind certain things that happen. I mean,
the symbolism.
yeah, it's just like, I totally agree with you with this kind of idea of why everything has to be symbolic. It's realism, it's naturalism, it's about an event, a time, a relationship, a conversation that's real, not any of these. I totally agree that there's no symbolism kind of there, really, is there?
I think that's why I always didn't really enjoy English at school as much as I should, considering I loved writing, because I loved writing and I love reading plays and books and novels. But sitting there and sort of listening to him say, oh, this means this and that means that, I always found it a bit frustrating.
It's sterile, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, sometimes it's just nice to read something and go,
just appreciate it
I
for what it is.
It's great. I love that story.
It's emotional, isn't it? It's like you have an emotional reaction to it, and that's enough. You don't need to deconstruct it to get to the bottom of why it works. It just works. That's sort of like the magic of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is that you just feel something.
And I think with this scene, I know, and it's really weird because actually when we were talking to Jodie, she kind of said the same thing. Is like some of the lines and things that were being said were familiar, but then you kind of going, I'm not like kind of letting out there that my relationship with my mother was anything like, Helen and Jo necessarily, but it's the way in which they speak to each other. And although some of the things that are being said can be quite cutting,
it's rooted in love, isn't it?
It's rooted in love and warmth.
You don't have to be perfect people anyway. I mean, I sort of, I take issue anyway with the notion that how we value our women characters, what we expect them to be like, what we expect them to do. So I think that's why, it was groundbreaking, not just for the content, but I think that particular relationship, mothers and daughters are about conflict. Even the ones that get on are about conflict.
Exactly. We all have a flaw or two, do you know what I mean? And some have more.
And you're growing up together. It's not like when you have kids, you're this perfectly well-formed individual. I can testify, seriously, I can testify that you're always growing up with your kids because, you respond to them. And half the time your responses are rooted in your own experience of being that age. And I think that happens to Helen over and over again.
Yeah.
She has a miserable life at the beginning, getting married to some bloke who doesn't want to have sex. So she goes and has sex, and then she's vilified for having sex. She still raises the girl. She's not trying to do a shit job of it. She's doing what she can.
And I think there's always an expectation, isn't there? And I think that expectation's still there for women.
Yeah.
Don't even go there with me, Ronnie, because I won't shut up. Seriously, don't.
But seriously. And I think definitely back in the 50s, there would have been a massive expectation to you almost, being that perfect wife with the apron on and baking cakes and making cup of tea.
A good woman sacrifices herself, you know what I mean, in order to teach kids to stand up and walk and open a door and shut a door, like everything. All those human beings out there strolling about, able to do shit, the first few years was a woman's labour, for most of them. So don't get me started.
Oh dear. Right, so we're going to jump to the last scene because I think for me they are two. Well, actually, I mean, obviously, there's lots of great things about the play because I love the play, and I'm obviously not just saying that because I'm talking to you, but the last scene basically when Helen comes back, Jo's about to pop, and literally, and a few things are obviously revealed to Mum. What I love about this scene is it's similar to the first scene in the sense that it's again, dare I use these silly phrases, but it's kind of a bit like a roller coaster in that there's lots of warmth, I think, in this last scene.
It's all right, love. I'm here, and everything's all right. Are you awake now?
Hello. Yes. What's it like?
What?
Is there much pain?
No. It's not so much pain as hard work, love. I was putting my Christmas pudding on the shelf when you started on me. There I was, standing on a chair, singing away, merry as the days long.
Did you yell?
No, I ran.
I had such a funny dream just now.
Oh, Joe, you're always dreaming, aren't you? Well, don't let's talk about your dreams, or we'll get morbid.
Where would you like these flowers going?
Over there. Come on. You come and do it, love.
Hasn't Jeff come back yet?
No, he hasn't.
Well, where are you going to sleep, Helen?
Well, it's all right, love. Don't fall over now.
You know, I've got so used to old Jeff lying there on that couch like an old watchdog. You aren't...
It's all right, love. Don't worry about me. I'll find somewhere.
I wonder where he is.
Oh, Joe, careful. Hold on, love. Hold on. It'll be all right. The first one doesn't last long. God, I could do with a drink right now. Hold on.
That's better.
Are you all right now? There we are. Do you hear those children singing over there on the croft, Joe?
Yeah, you can always hear them on still days.
You know, when I was young, we used to play all day long at this time of the year. In the summer, we had singing games, and in the spring, we played with tops and hoops. And then in the autumn, there was a 5th of November. And we used to have bonfires in the street and gingerbread and all that. Have I ever told you about the time when we went to a place called Shining Clough? Oh, I must have done. I used to climb up there every day and sit at the top of the hill. And you could see the mills in the distance. But the clough itself was covered in moss. Isn't it funny how you remember these things? Do you know? I'd sit there all day long and nobody ever knew where I was. Shall I go and make us a cup of tea? Oh, Joe, I've forgotten how we used to like this thing.
Turn on all the knobs. Mind you don't gash yourself.
Still can't do it.
Jeff will fix it.
No, it's all right.
Helen,
Yeah?
my baby may be black.
You what, love?
My baby will be black.
Oh, don't be silly, Joe. You'll be giving yourself nightmares.
But it's true. He was black.
Who?
Jimmy.
You mean to say that sailor was a black man? Oh my God. Nothing else can happen to me now. Can you see me wheeling a pram with her? Oh my God. I'll have to have a drink.
What are you gonna do?
I don't know. Drown it. Who knows about it?
Jeffrey.
And what about the nurse? She's going to get a bit of a shock, isn't she?
Well, she's black too.
Good. Perhaps she'll adopt it. Dear God in heaven.
If you don't like it, you can get out. I didn't ask you to come here.
Where's me hat?
On your head.
Oh, yeah. I don't know what's to be done with you. I don't really. I ask you, what would you do?
Are you going?
Yes.
Are you just going for a drink?
Yes.
Are you coming back?
Yes.
Well, what are you going to do?
Put it on the stage and call it Blackbird.
As I was going up Pippin Hill was dirty, and there I met a pretty miss, and she dropped me a curtsy. Little miss, pretty miss, blessings light upon you. If I had half a crown a day, I'd gladly spend it on you.
I love the bit where she's and reminiscing herself about her own childhood, because I feel
Yeah.
like in that little section, definitely with Helen, that little monologue that she does just before she walks out again, I feel like you get a lot of history, a lot about her possibly.
Yeah.
In that little bit.
Oh, I think that end scene, it's come full circle, hasn't it? Like they're back together again.
Yeah.
And Jo's in this situation, she's pregnant, and Helen's probably, looking at her and thinking back to when, she was having Jo herself, and it's all just come full circle. They're in this similar situation.
Yeah.
They're both doing it on their own, and they've only really got each other. So yeah, that's
But
what
I
I
think,
love about that
Helen
scene.
comes back. Helen definitely comes back. Do you know what I mean? She has really just gone for a drink. But I think you're right, and I think that it's relatable for Helen. But I think that, always I'm mindful that, in the 50s, 60s, there wasn't the vocabulary for talking about your experiences and, your feelings and your emotions and deconstructing how you feel and why that might be. So, an uncomfortable feeling, which I would imagine Helen has when she kind of realises that not only is Jo going to have a baby, she's going to have a mixed race baby, and that will add to the hardship. It's just going to add to the hardship. You can't get away from it.
At that time, it was a super difficult time, let alone for, a woman to have a child out of wedlock.
And not be married.
And, the fact that the baby's going to be mixed race. People will look at you in a different way even more because of that.
And Helen's a realist. She knows it's going to be really hard. I mean, she's a realist. She's got it's not hysteria. It's not, it's just she knows what life is like. But I mean, I like it. They end up back together and you kind of, the baby will have its grandma and it all, and, they'll probably do a better job with that little girl that comes along than was done to Jo and Helen. I mean, that's what you hope happens, is that you kind of eventually get it right down the generation.
I suppose down the generations, that's eventually what you hope, like you say, would happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all right. I think, it's not meant to be like a happy ending particularly, but I don't think it's a terribly sad ending. I think Jeffrey's glad to be out of there because, it's not really fun, is it? And I think that Jo and Helen will do a good job, between them.
Yeah.
I think Jo has a line, doesn't she, where she says something like, I feel like I could take care of the whole world. I think she's actually feeling quite hopeful herself. I mean, I think
it's
she knows...
It's an optimistic line, isn't it?
She knows it's going to be difficult, but I think she's ready for it.
Yeah, because I think she says it to Helen. I think she actually says it.
Yeah, she does.
I mean, the bickering. I think it's there's a bit of a bicker. She's kind of saying, "I don't need you," in a way. I can take care of myself. I feel like I could take care of the whole world, or something on those lines. That the line is, and I think you're possibly right. Like, it is an optimistic moment for her.
And I think it's also about vulnerability as well. I mean, I think that Helen knows something Jo doesn't know, which is that she's going to be vulnerable. She's going to be open to attack because of the social mores. Let's face it, it would happen now. You know what I mean? Single mums, not married, bit skint, the scourge. Do you know what I mean? They are the scourge of civilization. So, I think Helen's kind of instinct to not want it to be too awful for Jo, but she still needs a drink. Do you know what I mean? And that's just who she is. Yeah, but it is who she is. She's definitely more perfect than the father, that's for sure. Jo.
Well, yeah, because
she stuck around.
She's there. She's there.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
like.
It's that thing that we just said about expectations of women, that you're the nice one, I suppose, or like you don't
kind.
say.
It's usually kind.
You've got to be you've got to be nice, and you've got to be kind and loving and actually sometimes you don't feel like that, do you? You don't feel like being nice.
Not all the time. Not all the time.
And should you apologise for that?
It's really hard. I mean, at the end of the day, going from like one slum to another, that's got to wear you down. That's got to affect you. And I mean, Helen's life, I just see Helen's job as a mum in relation to the life that we know about from the play. And I just think she's done a great job to stick by her that long. It's not easy. It's not easy getting it right all the time. Even if you've had a relatively easy life, it's not easy getting parenting right.
For me, that cultural shift, in a sense, even now, you know, because of that, that change that happened, and obviously your mum was part of that, it kind of enables aspiration because of that familiarity, you know, seeing those faces and seeing those characters and hearing those voices of people that are familiar. You know, you hear the characters speaking, acting, you know, from your mum's play to everything else that came afterwards, or other things that have come afterwards, I suppose. That
cultural shift showed that there were possibilities. It wasn't just like what you wanted, that it was actually possible to kind of just to do things out of curiosity because they might lead somewhere. So I think even at school, I don't know what your schooling was like, Ronnie, but for me, just writing stories was part of going to school. It really was. You know, like at primary school, I left school when I was about 14 and a half anyway, but we always seem to be writing stories. And I think that, you know, like we said earlier, when you can see yourself in popular culture and you know that what you're seeing has been constructed by somebody who has some understanding of you and your life, it's not that you're automatically going to like it, but what it does do is it shows you that there is a possibility that you could do that. And then possibilities lead to hope, and that's, you know, that's a good way to feel. And so I think that, you know, it was really great over here, like with the welfare state, when it was working properly and education was working properly and adult education, you know, people weren't just saddled with loads of debt. You could just go and do classes, and they were just full of all different types of people. And I think that happens a bit less now, probably because it's just too expensive and people are skint. So I think then it just was like a perfect storm. Lots of things came together that enabled like a bigger mix of voices. I mean, there were still voices missing. There always are, but it was definitely a step in the right direction. Yeah.
I think I agree with you there, to be honest with you, because I always had the aspiration to write, like always from being a young age, and I always have wrote, but I don't think I ever thought about it as a possibility until I started learning about Shelagh Delaney and taking part in the Shelagh Delaney days. That, I think, was when I really realised it could be something that I actually did and not just something that I did in my room and kept to myself.
But you see, I think that's where schools are missing, because what I think is a disappointment is that A Taste of Honey and Shelagh Delaney is not spoke about in schools, really, or wasn't. And
I never did it at school.
It might be now, and you didn't do it at school. It might be now, but our Salford schools teaching children about a writer that was born in Salford and that, you know, went on to do great things, you know, and actually was writing at a time, especially being a female, writing at a time there weren't that many females writing, and they definitely weren't being as provocative, if you want to use that word, as your mum was, you know. And I think that's where schools are missing out, you know, because she.
But I don't think, Pete, are young people encouraged to consider writing as a profession anyway? I mean, I feel like it's.
I think you're right.
I think everybody's in school going, how am I going to earn a living? That's what people are doing at school. They're thinking, how am I going to earn a living? And it's a waste of being somewhere that should have access to all the possibilities of different things that you could try. All you're thinking about is how am I going to earn a living, and you're just going to, I don't know, you can be a lawyer or something, or you're going to train yourself to do the thing that makes the money. That's not why you become a writer. I mean, it might be bubbling away inside of you when you're practicing your BAFTA acceptance speech. And I think we should all the time imagine ourselves up there being recognised as somebody who's good at what they do. But to be allowed to just do it and take it seriously, I don't see much of that.
No,
I don't know. You're at school. You've just finished school, so you know more about it than me.
Well, I think what the problem is, if you've grown up with less money or in poverty, or, you know, things have been hard, I think it is like you say. I think you just at school they're just sort of trying to train you to become a doctor or a lawyer or something that's going to pay the bills. And if you have grown up and struggled with money, I think
you just want to make a living, don't you?
Yeah, you automatically want that for yourself. So things like writing, even if you are passionate about it, I think you can easily be put off because you have that fear that you're not going to make a living from it.
Yeah, and I don't think actually it's down as a choice of job. I think that's what you were just saying, and that I kind of agree with that, is that it's the same And I think that's not changed.
I do think, though, that places like Salford Arts Theatre are they're like gold dust, aren't they? And if there were sort of more of those around, where you can just kind of go and be helped to kind of learn about that world and be allowed to express yourself and have that taken seriously. I mean, that's why I think it's a shame. I mean, I don't know how many community theatres there are in the country or in the world even. But I think what you do there is kind of phenomenal, really. And it really does sort of remind me of that sort of theatre workshop ethos back in the day where Honey was first performed. And the notion that everyone can get involved. There's something that everyone can do something. You don't have to want to be on the stage. You don't have to want to write. You could be an electrician, you know what I mean, and be doing the lights. Everyone in the community can have a role in that setup. So I just think it's really, really precious. I mean, that if you hadn't had Salford Arts, you'd be having a harder time now, wouldn't you?
I don't think I'd be doing anything creative at all. I think I would, but it'd be a hobby. I think I would have probably been pushed down that route of doing something like a law degree at university or something like that. I think I'd still be writing, but I think it'd just be in my bedroom and it'd go no further.
Which is tragic. In my opinion.
Is she crying again? She's not crying again, is she?
She might start. We'll have to stop. Move on.
Exactly. Okay. You introduce your piece, Libby.
Yeah, so I wrote a scene like mother, like daughter. The idea behind it was how that mother-daughter relationship has changed today, if it has. I don't think it has, personally, much. Like I say, I think A Taste of Honey is timeless, and the relationships in it I can still relate to now, even though it was written when it was.
Well, let's have a quick listen to Like Mother, Like Daughter by Libby Hall. It's getting worse round here.
What do you mean?
Scruffy.
Just renovated all the houses.
Only so they can put the rent up. They're not daft. And it's shoddy work. The cupboard door's hanging off already.
Because you keep slamming it when you're in one of your moods.
I can't help it. I'm going through the change.
For the past 17 years.
Funnily enough, ever since you made an appearance.
I'll be out your hair soon.
Don't kid yourself. Mothers and daughters put a lifelong strain on each other. It's just the way things are.
Oh, do you know, you've always been able to do that.
Do what?
Make everything seem bleak and grey when you open your mouth. It's your talent.
I speak the truth. I've lived and I've learnt. My mother certainly put a strain on me.
Doesn't stop you from crying about her when you've had a few too many gins.
Well, of course not. I loved her and I miss her every day. That doesn't mean to say she didn't cause me unending amount of stress. You would have got on with her like a house on fire.
Probably.
I hope I get to meet your children.
How do you know I'll have any?
I've always known. God, the number of dolls you used to make me buy from Toys R Us when you were small. It was like running a nursery.
I wanted you to have another baby. That's what I'd wish for whenever it was my birthday and I had to blow my candles out on the cake.
Really? That's very disappointing. I thought your wishes would have been a bit more inventive.
Why?
I don't know. You just always looked like you were wishing for something fantastical.
No, just a brother or sister.
Well, that ship has well and truly sailed now.
Did I put you off?
Having children? Yeah, I suppose you did.
Thanks, Mum.
What? You asked.
Have you never heard a line for the sake of somebody's feelings?
We've got to be honest with each other. It's one of the only perks of having a daughter. It's not like having a son. They hide things from you, little white lies and miscommunications. But there should be no secrets between mother and daughter. You should be able to say anything to me, absolutely anything, the good, the bad and the ugly. And believe me, life can get ugly.
Oh, I believe you. I've had 17 years of first-hand experience being raised by you.
We all raise ourselves, really.
Who said that? Gandhi when he was pissed.
You do try to be funny, don't you?
If I don't laugh, I'll cry.
Told your mothers and daughters lifelong strain.
Cheers to another 30 years of misery then.
Jesus, 30 years? Where did you pull that figure from? Wishful thinking. People live longer now, you know. Give me some hope.
You've not exactly looked after yourself though, have you?
Too busy looking after you.
I was cooking my own tea by the time I was 10.
Well, I had to work, didn't I?
Not as much as you did.
Don't you think I wanted to be at home? But somebody had to go out and find the rent.
I understand that now, but you don't think like that when you're 9 years old, coming home to an empty house.
It's all life skills. What use would it have been to have wrapped you up in cotton wool and blinded you to the reality of life's trials and tribulations?
Trials and tribulations? Been reading again, have you?
No, I'm capable of speaking sophisticatedly, you know.
Only when you're on the phone, putting on a voice.
Well, at least I make an effort. You speak as though you've been plucked straight from the streets.
Maybe you're just old, out of touch with the times.
Clearly. Only got 30 years left, according to you.
That's if you're lucky.
Well, thank you very much. That's put a spring in me step.
It's only the truth. Daughters should always be honest with their mothers.
You're only as old as you feel, they say. In which case, I've been 21 for decades and will continue to be eternally.
You stress too much to be 21. It's not good for your blood pressure.
If you know that, why do you keep sending it through the roof?
Must be that mother-daughter strain.
That'll be it. Ugh. This tea's cold.
That's what happens when you don't drink it.
Go and make me another.
Suddenly lost the use of your legs, have you?
I will one day. Then what will you do? Crumble?
Put you in a home.
Oh, you're a wicked girl.
Like mother, like daughter.
You should be so lucky.
Was I planned?
A baby was, certainly. But you weren't.
What's that supposed to mean?
We wanted a boy, less hassle.
Oh, charming.
So I've been told.
I've always been quite tomboyish. Maybe that's why.
Oh, yeah. You've always been boisterous. Even before you were born, always kicking me. And I had kicks too. We thought you'd grow up to be a footballer for certain. We didn't bother finding out if you were going to be a boy or a girl. We were so sure. We bought everything blue. I nearly died with shock when they pulled you out of me and cried it's a girl.
Oh, fancy being so unprepared. Oh, God, that's just like you. You're always assuming you know best.
1,000 antenatal classes couldn't have prepared me for you. What a nightmare. You were always shrieking at the top of your lungs. I thought there was something wrong with you. You were blood red in the face, stood up in your cot and shaking on the bars to get out. I never got a wink of sleep in those first 2 years.
I was willful, that's all.
Is that what they call it? Pain in my arse, that's what I'd say.
Some things never change.
Too right. Oh well, you can make up for it by buying me an early retirement. I want a villa on a beach somewhere sunny.
How much do you think they're paying me at Tesco?
But that's just a part-time thing, isn't it? You won't be there forever.
A lot of people say that about the jobs. I remember your first day at Premier Inn. You came home and said you didn't reckon you'd last a month there because you hated it. A decade later and you've probably cleaned hundreds of thousands of rooms for them.
I didn't have options though. Never bothered with school when I was there. Didn't give myself a chance in life. You're clever. You'll go places.
Not sure I want to. I'm happy around here.
Don't talk nonsense, Olivia.
Mean it. I love the people.
The people? You must be joking. Riff-raff and hooligans, that's all that's round here.
I hope you know that includes us.
I know we're not exactly prim and proper. We've got manners and respect. We've been raised right. Some of the kids round here are being dragged up.
Why? Because they kick a football outside your house and get a bit cheeky when you ask them to move. They're just being kids.
6 times that football is at my window this week. They'll put it through one of these days, and I tell you what, I won't be forking out for it, the mothers will.
Oh, you're a miserable fart. You could make it rain in Africa. Honestly, you could.
You don't have to look far to see why. I see all sorts passing this window, you know. It's going right down the drain, this estate. It's ever since that new family moved in over there. Have you seen the mother? She lives in her pyjamas. And there's a new fella taking the kids to school every week. The modern family, eh?
Well, at least yours is perfect.
I never said that.
Because you couldn't. Because no one's is.
I worry about when Eddie dies next door. God knows who they'll put in there. I couldn't live next to someone like her. I'm hoping we get another decade out of Eddie.
You've lived next door to the man for 20 years and you're speaking about him as though he's nothing more than cattle.
Well, you know what I mean. Anyway, my hopes are pinned on you to get me out of here. So study hard and study well.
I'll do it for myself and nobody else.
If I had that attitude, where would you be?
How am I supposed to answer that?
With your intelligence?
I save that for people it's not lost on.
Oh, you're a cheeky sod.
That'll be your fault.
How did you come to that conclusion?
Well, you seem to think the kids around here are gobby because of the way they're being raised.
Yeah, but you're not gobby. Not to anyone except me. I made sure of that. Parents are too soft nowadays. Smacking your children's been banned in Scotland. Can you imagine that? The law is telling us the best way to parent now. It's unbelievable. Smack on the bottom never did me any harm, or you.
Speak for yourself. Always stung me quite a bit, your smacks.
You know what I'm getting at. Been no emotional trauma or anything daft like that, has there? You don't hold any grudges, do you?
I did at the time.
But you learned, didn't you?
Well, they might as well bring back caning at school then, aren't they, eh?
Well, there'd be a lot less messing.
Well, you wicked you are.
I'm joking. It's not for anyone else to discipline your children. It's down to the parent only. And a smack on the legs every now and then It's harmless.
You have to move with the times, ma'am.
I suppose so, yeah. Will you smack yours?
Told you I might not have any.
Hypothetically, if you do.
No. I've always sworn I wouldn't.
It's easy to say that now, but when you have one and it's running rings around you after a long day at work and you've got 1,000 stresses on your mind, believe me, your patience will stretch thin.
You've got a fixed mindset.
I've got experience. That's what I've got.
Maybe you're right.
Your mother always is. Now go on, make me another cuppa.
Say please and I'll consider it.
You sounded just like your nana then. It was like seeing a ghost for a second.
Maybe I'm her reincarnation.
Sometimes I wonder.
I dreamt about her the other night.
How? You've never met her?
Feel like I have. You talk about her often enough.
I suppose I do. What happened in your dream?
Nothing really.
Slagging me off most likely.
It's not all about you. We were just talking.
How morbid. I haven't had a dream for ages.
Are we speaking in metaphors now?
I suppose we could be. But I just meant I haven't been sleeping very well. The rain's been keeping me up. I heard it all night.
You shouldn't listen to the rain. It's very depressing.
Honestly, some of the things you come out with, what are you like?
Unique.
In some ways. But at your core, I think you're just like me. And I'm just like my mother. And on it goes. It's that cycle, isn't it? Like mother, like daughter. That never-ending strain.
I'm not making you another brew. Don't know what was in your cup, but it's got you talking daft. I'm gonna go and get dressed instead.
I suppose I better do the same. Come on then, love. Let's face the day.
I really like those conversations where, like, you could call it banter, but actually it's really, yeah, but it's deep stuff that they're talking about. They're talking about deep stuff, and it's kind of interwoven that everybody has. You know, they're going through the same extraordinary stuff, and I think it comes over really beautifully.
Oh, thank you.
Do you think you might expand it?
I haven't really thought about that, to be honest, at the minute. But I really enjoyed writing it. It came out quite fast, actually.
And that's sort of my favourite kind of writing, really, because I think that interesting that your view of mother-daughter relationships is it's in Honey, and it's not just mothers and daughters often. It's women, I think, a lot of the time. You know, in ordinary lives, like that to each other. So I think, I mean, I've got 3 children, and they've all got different dads, and I've raised them pretty much on my own in as much as a single parent. I've never really felt alone because there's always other people around. The children of single parents, single mums, independent mums, they're privy to information that they might not be if there was another adult there, you know. So you have conversations with them and you have banter with them, and they know what's going on in your life in maybe a way that wouldn't happen if there was an adult that you were talking about that stuff too. So I think straight away it presents, it's not that it's a more grown-up relationship, but I do think that the vocabulary and the dialogue and the topics become more grown up, because I've definitely had those conversations with my kids from quite early on about good days and bad days. And I can remember, like, I had a really good friend who lived around the corner from me, was 10 minutes away in London, and we were sort of raising our kids together, really, separate houses, but we were doing the job together, reading the same parenting books, trying to get it right. And every now and then, like, one of us would ring the other and say, can you come and get the kids? Because I can't be nice to them today. I just can't do it. And we understood it. It was just, you know, that's a good thing to do, right? It's better to just, like, give them to someone who'll go, oh, love you, blah, 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 whatever. And you can just, and usually it passes in an hour, but it was powerful. And I think there's loads of women who haven't got that and don't do that. And so the kids become more a part of everything that woman is going through all the time.
Yeah, and I suppose that's where you get elements of role reversal as well, where the child almost sounds like the adult, and you know.
Oh yeah. It's like the Absolutely Fabulous thing, isn't it, with Safi? Do you know what I mean? Have you ever seen that, Libby?
No, I haven't. No.
Oh, you must watch it.
Right. I mean, you what?
I said she must watch it.
She won't watch it.
She must. She must.
Yeah, I mean, it might seem really stupid and dated, and it was based on, who was she? Who was that? The editor of that women's magazine, and she sort of became a larger-than-life character. It was sort of 80s styly, 90s styly, and there's 2 of them. So it's Jennifer Saunders and Joanna Lumley, and they're sort of out of control fashion ex-groupies, you know, in their 50s, really. Do you know what I mean? And they're just sort of a bit embarrassing, but they've got this daughter, Safi, who's studious and very straight, and she's always rolling her eyes because her mum's coming in pissed and, you know, things like that. So I think that's something that works really well anyway, you know, because most mums are that person, you know, just that's who they want to be. Some of us hold back, some of us don't, if I'm honest. Well, you can tell, can't you? You know what I mean? No.
So we're going to come to kind of the end now, and I suppose I wanted to see if you've got anything else that you want to kind of add or, you know, finish off on, you know, say your goodbyes.
Okay, so, well, it's Shelagh Delaney Day, my mum day. So I suppose what I'd like to say is that however great a writer she was a better mum and a better grandma and a better sister and a better daughter and a better friend. You know, she was all of those people. But if you like A Taste of Honey and you think you like Shelagh Delaney, there's other stuff. Do you know what I mean? There is other stuff. And I like her radio stuff a lot, you know, and Dance with a Stranger. So I'd say, you know, it was extraordinary and I totally get it. But it was her first play. She got better, even better, you know. So give it a go. And thank you for doing this. It's so lovely. And send money to Salford Arts Theatre, everybody. Keep that in. Don't take that out. Definitely.
Oh.
It was lovely chatting to Charlotte, and we want to thank her for her time. Please take her advice and read more of the work by Shelagh and other writers alike. We hope you've enjoyed in the company over the Shelagh Delaney Day events. Both conversations with Charlotte and Jodie will be available on our YouTube and website. See you soon. Ta-ra for now.